welcome to the Matriarchy, episode 10. Hey, Kath, we made it to 10.
Woohoo!
Then, woohoo, 10. We've been waiting for 10. And Kath and I are beyond excited that we have the return of the Hudson Bay Girls. They completed their arduous journey, and we cannot wait to hear all about everything that happened to them, everything they learned. So thank you for joining us again, and we're excited to talk to you today.
You guys were our first guests, so this has been a journey for us as well, and we really appreciate that. And I will say that I had so many people say that episode was so inspiring, what these girls are doing and setting out to accomplish. It just, it was a little light in people's lives. And, there's so much heaviness in the world. And, it wasn't just the journey, but it was how you talked about it, how you planned for it. And I think above all, how you set out with such intentional goals to maintain your friendship by the end of the trip and, really taking care of your mental and emotional health as much as your physical health. So anyway, I'm super excited to welcome you all back. As you know, Abby Chahaki is my niece. So I've watched her grow from a little girl into this extremely accomplished young woman. I'd also like to introduce Emma Brackett and Helena Karlstrom. I almost said Olivia. Olivia Bledsoe is the fourth Hudson Bay girl who was with us on our other episode, but couldn't make it today. So we are excited to talk to all of you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So, before we get into all the crazy challenges and the stories that you've had, I think sometimes we discount things that go well. We tend to focus on the negative. If 98% of things were good, you're like, but these 2% things went wrong. So I want to talk about what worked. You guys did so much preparation. What worked? What went about as how you thought it would, or even better?
Honestly, there was a really good mix of challenges and, highlights, things that went well. I think the biggest surprise to all of us was that we kept ahead of schedule for the most part. We were hitting 25, 30 miles a day and really pushing ourselves despite injury and illness to really keep ahead of everything. So we got to our last section a couple days early, and we were like, well, we might as well just enjoy it and take a couple days. So we took quite a few layover days, some 0 days in there to just kind of soak it all in, experience it, and have fun with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of our trip, it was really cool for us to be a part of an all-women's crew. I think that was a really awesome and fun part for us. And very on theme for the podcast, but I think it was really important for all of us at this time to have a lot of feminine joy out in the outdoors and be in a space where we're able to recreate in the backcountry with just all women and have this space for ourselves. And just kind of we felt very free with each other because we were all very supportive of each other. And we just got really close as friends and everything. I remember just starting out on this first week and feeling the peace of being with these women. And it set off a really good tone for the trip.
I love that you used the word peace. I mean, my heart just kind of skipped a beat. I'm like, oh, that sounds so wonderful. Emma, how about you?
I honestly think our safety nets were so strong because we had a lot of concerns about health, safety, well-being throughout the trip, and having the mental health awareness as well as the physical health awareness that we had, and being able to kind of preemptively avoid some situations that could have gone poorly, especially when it comes to safety and that such, was really good in our crew.
I'm realizing that for some of our audience, they might not know what the heck we're talking about if they didn't catch episode 2.
Oh.
So maybe we should back up a little bit. And do you want to explain That's right.
We were a group of 4 women who paddled from Lake Superior to Hudson Bay over the course of 80 days and what was it, 1,300 miles or something along those lines.
Hmm.
The statistic that I like to pull out, because a lot of us don't even know where Hudson Bay is, like, sorry, apologies, Hudson Bay. But that's like canoeing from Michigan to Florida
Hmm.
over
Yeah,
80 days.
yeah.
2 canoes, right?
It's
2
crazy.
canoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We finished like literally right on like the edge of the Arctic Circle, if for reference to people. So almost like on top of the world, which was crazy.
That is insane. So you're describing the 8-mile portage, which can you even start with like what a portage is or portage? Am I saying that right? Portage,
So
portage?
there's varying ways to say it.
Okay.
Generally, Americans call it a portage. Canadians call it a portage. Um, we, the 4 of us, kind of interchange it. Doesn't
Okay.
doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, we started with Grand Portage, which was from Lake Superior, and it got us into the Pigeon River, which led us into the Boundary Waters. Um, and I have to say it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Like,
And explain what a portage
yeah,
is.
so a portage is basically a hike, but you have all of your gear and your canoes on your shoulders, and you're going from one body of water onto a hiking trail to get to the next body of water.
So with your canoe, carrying your canoes.
So
Yeah.
we had
Damn.
115-pound packs, and then we had 2, when they were all dressed up, 75-pound canoes, and then we had another third smaller pack that someone would carry with a canoe. So you either got heavy or you got heavier.
Mhm.
That's bananas. Good for you.
So our kind of strategy for this was we were gonna walk for 30 minutes, take like a 5 to 10 minute break. That kind of went out the window like mile 1, and we were dying, and we were like, this, like, we're never gonna get through this. This is so hard. But kind of when one of us was spiraling into that mindset, another one of us kind of got their second wind and was pulling everyone along. We were like, we can do this, guys. Like, it's gonna be okay. Um, and we put Olivia first because she sprints. And so she would go for 8 minutes, and the rest of us would go for however long it took to meet her at her 8-minute mark. So sometimes that was 10 minutes, sometimes that was 20 minutes. And then we would all take off all of our stuff and lay on the ground and give ourselves a minute to die. And then we pick it all back up like 5, 10, 15 minutes later and do another 8.
And the gear was so, so heavy. Like, it was, like, getting to points where you could barely lift your foot, like, an inch off the ground because your legs are just giving out under you. I had to, like, start, like, grabbing my pant legs and, like, pulling myself along to, like, manually move my legs forward. It was so exhausting, and it was so hot, and the trails were just, like, so difficult to, like, go over that rough terrain. We actually had a few times where a couple of us were just falling on the trail with all of that gear on top of us. It was crazy.
Falling, crying, throwing up.
Almost that whole day. For we had at least one of us going, "Why are we doing this?" the entire
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
um, I'm like, there was a solid like couple hours there where at least one of us was crying. The entire time. So
And
we
that
were
was
we
8
were walking
miles?
for we were walking for 12 hours to do that. Um, it's a long time.
And then we finished in the dark.
Yes, we did finish in the dark.
And I was like, there's no way we're getting through this. Like, how are we possibly going to finish if we are only going to do 8 miles a day? Little did I know. 8 miles uphill on a portage where half of it was actually closed because all of the bridges got washed out by a flood. We did not know
Yeah.
this. We did the closed section. And we were just going through the swamp. And it takes a lot longer to do that than it does to canoe on flat water. I have to
Yeah.
say.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah,
crazy thing.
we did, like, that that portage took so long that day, and we were so worried about catching miles up to get back on track for where we wanted to be. Um, Little did we know that only 2 days later we would have like a 30-mile day where we paddled and portaged. I think we paddled probably like 25 of those miles and portaged like 5 of those miles, just going like through and through. And
Mhm.
that was like probably like almost the 3 hardest days of our trip were the first 3 days of like where we had
Okay.
super long portage, and then we had pulling our canoes upriver, ending with another mile long portage, and then like a 30-mile day with more and more miles of portaging. We were going through some of the hardest portages in the Boundary Waters, all in like the span of like 3 4 days, which was really wild. We were in parts of the Boundary Waters that none of us had seen before, and they were gorgeous, and like we could see like the elevation all around us. So um, yeah, when I talked about peace earlier, those little moments of peace were like sparsely. You get little moments of peace in between moments of pain. And so, and most of it, was like relaxing at camp with the crew and finally making dinner and stuff. That's what we looked forward to every single day.
I have to say though,
Mhm.
the one good thing about starting with the hardest days is every time we ran into a challenge, we're like, it's not as bad as that first week. We're not in as much pain as that first week. So
Yeah,
it was a
yeah.
good
Yeah.
reference point.
Mhm.
So most of what we were concerned about for walking at night, ideally we weren't. We did have one portage that we did, or two actually, that we did finish in the dark or very close to dark. Um, Most of what we were concerned about is the fact that we packed our headlamps poorly, so they were at the bottom of our pack. And we had one person digging through the pack, and then the other 3 of us ran up to go and try and find our dark gray canoe that we put in the woods. um, Except we lost the trail, so we were just walking up the hill.
It was less of a hill and more of a cliffside.
It was a little bit of a
Well,
cliffside,
very
yeah. Um, that we were directly next to the cliffside, and we were walking up the incline next to the cliffside, so it kind of like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we were looking for a dark gray canoe,
Mhm.
and
in the
we're
dark.
just walking into the woods until we realized, hey, we've been walking for like 10 minutes and haven't hit the turn that was like maybe 30 feet up the hill. I thought so. Maybe we missed it.
And see, Emma may not have been worried about wildlife or animals, but I'll tell you, sometimes when you're walking on those portage trails alone, even in the daylight, you kind of hear some things in the woods. You start to make things up in your mind. And I was fearful quite a few times. So to like, I think a lot of us to pass the time while you're just walking out and alone in the wilderness, we like sing to ourselves. Because we want to make like a lot of noise to make ourselves known, scare off anything, and we would just sing very loudly like crazy people to ourselves. Did a lot of that on trail.
What songs did you sing?
Hmm.
Oh, everything.
Oh.
We actually brought a couple of songbooks, but we would sing like Wagon Wheel. We'd sing a lot of Girl Scout songs that we had learned at camps growing up. So, um, we just like everything. I don't know, Emma, Helena, you want to drop some of your
Um,
favorites?
I like around or songs that have like the same tune, so that way I don't have to think about what the lyrics are. So I was singing like "Where Have All the Flowers Gone" and "Blowing in the Wind" and things like that, where I can just keep talking pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah, we had one book that I loved. It was Les Chansons des Voyageurs. And it was like a little songbook of like these old folk songs that were from like the Scouts base and everything. And Abby and Emma taught me so many like little scouty folky songs that were so nice to just like calm in the mornings. We would like sing them on the water together, which was really fun.
And so speaking of wildlife, did you see a lot of wildlife?
Oh yeah. We saw a lot of black bears, a lot of moose.
We had lots of like little chance encounters with wildlife. And it's just really cool when you're out there because it's very just just a moment, like a glimpse that you get to see these animals. It's just
Mhm.
like an instant that you get to have. So we took like a lot of videos and photos of our trip and stuff, but we don't have like a lot of the wildlife because it's like in those moments like you don't want to have your camera out and you don't want to be like,
Mhm.
trying to get some clip or whatever. It was really cool to just like be in that moment and be like the only reason why I get to see this is because I'm out here in the back country far, far away from other people. Because a lot of the animals out there are very skittish of humans because they don't see a lot of humans at all. Like they're kind of confused at like what we are. But like it was really cool just getting connected with like the environment and the wildlife out there. And we just had just a lot of cool encounters. I think like one of the ones that, really gave me chills was the first time we saw a wolf out on in the marsh on Lake Winnipeg. Because we had heard like there's wolves out here. You might not get to see one. Like they're pretty rare to see. But like at all of our campsites, like there's gonna be like there's wolf tracks or bear tracks or moose tracks. So like we know they're out there, and it was really cool. And there was just one day we were paddling. We were all quiet, and it was just like a really calm morning and we just saw this wolf come out of the brush in the marsh and we just got to stare at it for like a whole minute and we just were like
Wow.
at awe like and it filled me with like the adventure spirit. Those days on Lake Winnipeg were really hard. It felt like the lake was just endless. We just kept going and going and going over like looking out of the void. You just cannot see the end. But like it was just like little moments, like little special moments like that kept me going in my mind of like this is where I want to be. I want to be out here like seeing things that nobody else gets to see.
I'd say the
Amazing.
craziest one for me was definitely the seals. Because in
Mm.
my
Oh,
mind,
wow.
that's a zoo animal. Like, that's not an animal that I'm going to see out in the wild. That's something very far away. But to know that I got there on my own, like 2 feet on my own paddle, was mind blowing to me. I think I just stood there with my jaw on the floor for minutes. Um, but the very last day when we were getting to the Arctic Ocean, so Hudson Bay's on the Arctic, we were paddling up to the ocean, and about 15, 30 miles out, we started to see the seals. And I thought they were rocks.
Wow.
Um, and, I wasn't trying to hit rocks, but sometimes it happened. And so we would get kind of close to them, and then the rock would start jumping, and I was like, "Oh my God, like that's a seal. Like I gotta go. My fingers are gonna get bit off." But they're very curious animals, and so for minutes afterwards, you could see them kind of poking their head up and looking around and staring at you, trying to figure out what the heck this boat is in the water. So that was, like, mind-blowing to me and, like, the
Wow.
coolest thing ever.
How about you, Emma? What
Oh,
animal did you see that really just kind of blew, or the moment that really like touched you?
my favorite were seeing the river otters because you hear about them all the time in the boundary waters, but I had seen them like out of the corner of my eye running up the bank or like just barely glimpsed them before they went under. Like I hadn't like seen them until we were on, I believe, the Winnipeg River, and we were paddling and we looked over and I was like, huh, it's a weird rock. And then the weird rock hissed at us and I was like, oh, it's alive. um and then it like was like swimming around like next to us for a little while,
Wow.
and like kind of popping up. There's one of the times where it was like feet from our boat that it popped up and like looked at us and like hissed at us and ducked back under, and I was like, oh, that's a live creature that's really close. um
Wow.
It's
and
kind
I
of
was
funny
like,
because the otters are like submarine periscopes, like,
yeah.
they're straight up and down, and then they kinda rotate to look at you.
Hmm.
Really silly creatures.
Yeah.
How cute.
And when you startle them, they make a little shriek. If you
What does it
If
sound
they
like?
pop up, oh, uh, they kind of like just go.
They would like pop up like from behind, and then they'd like turn around, and they'd be like, and then they just like pop right back in the water. It was so funny.
Yep. Mhm. Especially if they popped up and they were facing like the opposite direction and then slowly rotated towards you and went, "There's someone there."
You mentioned bears, so you guys
Mhm.
clearly chose the bears over the men in the woods.
Yeah.
Any day. Any day.
Yeah,
Mhm.
We actually talked about this on trail. We were like,
we chose the bear.
We did come across some men in the woods. Well, but if they gave us like odd vibes, we kind of turned a little bit away. But we met so many kind people out in the woods.
Male and female, right?
Yeah. We did hop in a lot of people's cars when
with
portaging.
promise of ice cream. So it's
Yes, yeah, we were promised ice cream, and all four of us immediately hopped in this woman's car.
She was very kind. Her name was Jan. She was a volunteer at the Voyagers National Park. She had a uniform on and a name tag. It was official.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
So were the people that you were meeting people that lived there and worked, like you said, like Jan, or were you meeting other people doing similar adventures?
Ooh, well, I think we did. So I'll say, like, the people of Manitoba are so friendly and so kind. And we spent a lot of time paddling there. And a lot of people that we met were like living and working there. We met a lot of people at hydro dams because, like, the hydro industry is like really important up there, especially with all of like the rivers that we were going through. So a lot of really kind, like, good, hardworking people we met there. But in the Boundary Waters, we met a lot more paddlers. Like, there would be lots of crews of men going on, like, fishing trips, things like that.
Mm.
And we met, like, probably, like, over 100 crews of men in the Boundary Waters there. It actually took us 8 days to meet our first other women paddlers, which was really funny. But, after we left the Boundary Waters and got into some of more of the remote parts, we would actually go, weeks without seeing other sets of paddlers. And so
Interesting.
that was a really interesting thing. It was, like, just us out there, like, maybe we'd see, like, a motorboat, pass by, like, once every 7 days or so, but it felt really cool to be doing, like, this, like, these self-supported sections just out there in the wilderness. We did meet at the end two sets of crews that we actually became pretty close with. So there was a group that we just ran into in the middle of the Hayes River. They self-dubbed them the Winnipeg Boys. And sorry boys, it's a stretch because they all have kids that are our age. But we ran into them and they were super kind. And they gave us like chocolate bars and they were super awesome. They
Aw.
just were doing like a 2-week section there. And then on our last day, we actually ran into a crew that had done a very similar route to us. They did 75 days in the backcountry, and it was like our first like 100 miles and our last like 300 miles were different of the courses. So but like they did like all of Winnipeg too, and we had not seen them the entire time on the trip. They must have been like 1 to 2 days behind us the whole time, but we ended up meeting each other on the very last day, and we finished at York Factory within 30 minutes of each other, which was really cool. And they
Wow.
were a group of young people called the Solitude of Four, just, like us, which is really cool. And we rode the train back with the Solitude and the Winnipeg Boys.
What's York Factory like?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Can you explain what that is?
So it's a Voyager trading post. So fur trading, bringing beaver furs and other pelts across the ocean to England and to be sold in Europe.
historically.
historically,
They
not
still
anymore.
doing that?
No. No, now it's Parks Canada runs it and has a wonderful little tour. You walk around the historic building, you see artifacts and various other things. You are walked around by people with guns due to the fact that there are polar bears. So you are escorted around, which everyone working there is super kind, super sweet, and it was a wonderful, wonderful little historical area to visit.
It was really special to have started at Grand Portage, which was another fur trading factory. So the factories mean that they're big and like a bunch of communities would bring their furs and different items there to sell. But starting at one, ending at another one of these factories was really special to honor that history.
It was also really cool, I think, because, so everything there is hundreds of years old, and they have like, thousands of artifacts from the time before where, everyone like was doing these skills and had these crafts by necessity of like that was their way of life, how they had to live. So it was really cool when they showed us the buildings that were like standing up over the test of time because they were like hand built by these people. They showed us like inside where the supports of the buildings were made out of like upside down tree stumps that's just what they had there, and some of like the support beams were made out of like ship masts that were hand carved for those specific purposes. And then all throughout the buildings they just had artifacts of like bones and like animal skulls and like old musket balls and clay pipes and like all of these old tools from just like the time before, which was just amazing to know like that people had been working and living there for hundreds of years and that we followed their route to get there, which was cool.
So did you see any polar bears?
Sadly, no. We missed
No.
them. We missed them by a little bit. The crew that came in like 2 days before us saw a polar bear while they were paddling into York Factory. The boat ride that came to get us when they were coming to York Factory, they saw a polar bear. And then it was gone by the time we came back. Um, so very close. There was also a polar bear at York Factory like the week before we got there or something.
I have to say,
So
I was really hoping not to see one while we were paddling, but I would have loved to see one on the motorboat ride back.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of like creepy though that like they're all around? There's like many polar bears in this area. It's one of the most highly populated polar bear areas. But they're just like hiding in the woods in the water. Like we don't know where they are. So that was scary, intriguing, but I think it just kind of means that we have to go back someday and see a polar bear.
yeah.
You got to leave something to come back to, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so dinners, fantastic. The dinners were great. Breakfast left something to be desired. Our options were like oats. Oats are more oats, but in a different form. Not good. It was so bad. We had way too many oats. Um, every once in a while, we got surprised by breakfast burritos, but that was about it. There were so many oats. I don't think I could touch another oat in like a million years.
We also had couscous, which was kind of like oats.
It was kind of the same thing.
Yeah. It was prepared in very similar, so it was the same nice tan mush.
They,
Yeah.
like variety is key on these expeditions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Variety is key.
What were you looking forward to most food-wise when you got back?
Ooh, I know halfway through the trip, all we wanted was just big juicy hamburgers. Like that is all we could think about. And we were so lucky enough to get like big hamburgers in International Falls, and we got the best burgers of International Falls at the Border Bar there, and we were treated by a man named Frank who let us stay in his backyard. And Doris, our mentor, drove up to go see us and deliver us our resupply. And they got us delicious burgers there, which was amazing.
Yeah, they had some really good burgers. I have to say, I just wanted some fruit, like some fresh fruit that wasn't, dried
For sure.
or like preserved in some way. I really wanted some fresh fruit.
We did also talk about ice cream almost every day throughout
That's
the
why you
trip.
got in that car.
Yep. That
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 puppies do.
was it was like almost a week before we got in that car that almost every day we were going, you'll be really great right now, ice cream. And
What
then
flavor are you gonna get?
a couple days before, I think Abby decided that they were gonna have ice cream at the ranger station. And we were all like, we'll humor her. Like, they might not. They might. They did not. But we got in there, and Abby looked so sad and disappointed that they were like, we'll just drive you to get ice cream.
Oh,
Thank you, Jan.
Yes.
oh. So many kind people along the way. Did you see?
Yeah.
Jan's a queen. Did you guys were you in and out of civilization during the trip,
Sometimes.
or just a day here and there when you
No.
resupplied?
Around our resupplies, yes. The east side of Lake Winnipeg had 4 or 5 towns, maybe you can call it a town, very, very small. I don't think some of them even had roads. So Lake Winnipeg was very remote. The Boundary Waters was very remote. Between the two, we had a good bit of civilization. There's a major highway that goes along that section. And then the Hayes was again very remote.
So a chance for ice cream.
Yes. But on the Hayes, there is a fly-in fishing lodge called North Star Resorts. And we stopped there, and these lovely group of ladies made us sandwiches and butter tarts, and like they gave us bread and butter, and it was amazing. It was so unexpected. You just kind of, well, we paddled up. Most people fly in because there's no roads, there's no civilization. Like that's the only thing within 100 miles. And so they showed us such kindness there.
There was just like this army of women ready to like we were unsure at first how they were going to react to us, coming up and everything, but they were just ready there to like take care of us and give us all the pastries and tarts that we wanted, and they gave us like ice water, and we felt so supportive. Like I had been talking like the whole trip like of just wanting those human connections, and that was so fulfilling. It just made our day. Like we were all just full like felt so much love in our hearts.
In our first episode, you guys talked about how much mental and emotional support you guys built in your trip, which really it was so inspiring to hear you guys set out with strategies in place. Because I'm going to take a little tangent here. Is that we tend to pit people, especially women, against each other, and I'm sure you had your challenges, but what did you learn and appreciate about each other? And it sounds like people along the way really helped out, not even necessarily in a crisis, but in a let's take care of our fellow humans way.
Yeah, I think so. Talking on what we learned from each other, I think each of us brought something completely different to the table. There were so many times that we balanced each other out in a good way. I was always so focused on, getting our miles in, keeping on track, keeping on schedule, which we need, and we need to get to where we're going. But also for my crewmates, I learned to, go with the flow a little bit more and take each day and engage in the little moments. And, maybe we take an extra, half hour at lunch and we fish. And, it's not always go, go, go. Sometimes you have to take it slower.
I think I learned a lot about just being, you know, patient and learning to like think about myself because I feel like in the front country I tend to like do a lot for others and not like give time for myself. But because we were out there so removed from any other distractions, I had a lot of time in the boat to think about me and what I actually want and what I care about and what's valuable to me. So I think we all had a lot of personal growth in that sense of being able to just like think about ourselves, which like I just feel like we tend not to do. I know that I'm a people pleaser and I sacrifice a lot of things that I like for other people to be happy. So it was it was good to just be out there with a crew that's like really capable and knows how to get things done. Also we just had a lot of empathy for each other as well, which is really helpful.
So I got injured partway through the trip on Lake Winnipeg. And I, since I came from a background of like guiding trips and being like someone who had to be like the strong person on the trip and making sure that everyone's okay, being the injured person is terrifying.
Okay.
Cuz I know I spent a lot of time going, "Oh no, I'm like creating problems. Like I'm
Mm.
like there were a couple days where we had to go like 6 miles, and that was a full day of paddling cuz I could not physically paddle any harder. And learning how to be okay with that and learning how to like first of all, the amount of support that the crew had and was like, we need you to be okay and like heal somewhat. So like my first reaction is, ah yes, I can push through this. But that's not a sustainable reaction for especially on day like it was like day 30, 40. So it was like halfway through the trip. And like learning how to be okay and how to like voice what I needed in the moment was really important, especially then.
And it sounds like your crew was totally supportive, and just wanted the best for you because the best for you is the best for everyone.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think for the most part, we got a lot closer. Um, I think there honestly, we got a lot of questions like, is the pressure getting to you? Like, you have all four women, like, what's gonna happen? Kind of people were expecting us to get into like it seemed like they were expecting us to get into like petty fights, but that's not what happened at all. We were all very supportive of each other. Everyone was very accepting. We all just tried to work through whatever challenges we encountered together and as a united force. So everything kind of just brought us closer together and we just learned more about each other every day.
Yeah, I do think we did get a lot of questions about like how much we thought we were going to be fighting and like what we were going to do in those situations. I'm like, I think people are overestimating how much we're going to fight about everything. um
Yeah.
which was very interesting.
Say at most we would just kind of sit down and like I think we had like one serious sit down talk the entire
Yeah.
time where we all kind of got together and everyone went around in a circle and voiced their opinions and then we all like took ownership for our part in the situation and um like we just talked through it and that happened once in all 80 days and I genuinely I don't even remember what it was about now like it was just not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think most of that was us all being so tired.
But I think at this point now we all just we're sisters, like, there's I don't think there's anything in the world that can kinda drive us apart. We've just spent so long, only the 4 of us, and getting to know each other on such, like, an intimate level that it's as if we lived with each other our whole lives.
You guys are basically all sisters now. You've been through thick and thin, and
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big aspect of the trip of, like, kind of like we kind of became a family unit, and the things that we need to do, like, we love for each other like sisters, we protected each other as like sisters, we bickered like sisters, we got things done like a little family, and I think, like, because we all wanted to care for each other so much, that's just how, like, things played out and happened. And I think also, like, being women. Like we had kind of like things that we shared, you know, being women in the backcountry, like shared experiences and how like we're treated as leaders and other people. And so that was something that like brought us together through that as well.
So was there a lot of turtle time?
Well, you know,
We tried. There were a lot of days where we got to camp, we ate dinner, and we went to bed, and that's all we had time for
Yeah.
to stay. On the Hayes River, finally got a little bit slower and we were able to sit down and read our books and, do all the things that we had wanted to do and a little bit in the Boundary Waters. But man, some of those days were really, really long and we just had no time to like think when we got to camp.
yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of times it was just like there's just no getting away from each other. We just got to be together all the time, you know? Like just doing all the camp chores and everything like that. We had some long days that were like you're either with the crew doing work or you're going to sleep, you know? So,
Yeah, on some of those days we did do like
you go ahead. You go
we-
ahead.
Okay. On some of those days we would do like a moment or two of silent paddling, so that way we could all like we were all still right next to each other, but we weren't talking to each other for just like 10 minutes of silence, and then we can be
Yeah.
back.
But as a good thing, like as a meditative thing, not because we
Yes,
couldn't talk
yes.
to each other. We just thought it would be nice to have a, you know, a quiet moment in the morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's intentionality, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
intentionally.
Is there anything you wish you had known before you left on your trip?
Yes, I wish I had known how much joy chocolate would have brought us, and I wish I had brought so much more chocolate, so much more candy, so much more hot chocolate. Like,
Mhm.
you cannot underestimate the power of chocolate. Every time we went into town, we'd go to the store and buy out the whole shelf, and still, it was not enough. Sometimes you just needed a little bit of man-made joy in your lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, I have to agree and completely with Abby. Everything else, I'll say we learned a lot of lessons, but I wouldn't have wanted to know that beforehand. Like it was a lot of stuff you just had to learn on trail and a lot of challenges that you just like it was important for us to learn them on the way. Like, yeah, like taking 115-pound packs on Grand Portage, maybe not the smartest choice in the future. Maybe we could go a little ultra light, you know, if we're doing something like that again. But that was just something that we had to learn by doing it, you know. But other than that, yeah, the only thing that I wish we would have changed was the levels of chocolate. We just could have had more chocolate, you know.
We did get gifted chocolate along the way.
The Winnipeg Boys.
The Winnipeg
Mhm.
Boys did give us a bar.
Shout
They
out.
gave us 2 bars of chocolate.
Really nice chocolate. They
Really
The-
nice
yeah.
chocolate too.
The
This
lady
is not a
from
Hershey
Boise,
bar. This is
No,
this
this
was
was like
lint.
lint chocolate.
Like it was
Yeah.
good. And then at
Dark
York
chocolate
Factory,
sea salt.
we were supposed to miss them, but because of weather, we had to get an earlier boat back. And so they had left us a chocolate bar at York Factory for us, and they had written on it, "To the Hudson Bay Girls, congrats on reaching your goal," from the Winnipeg Boys.
Yeah.
It's the name, but it was just shows you how much people were like
ugh,
really
getting a little
supporting
choked
us
up.
on trail. But then
Mhm.
we ended up getting on the same train ride with them and spent, 6 hours in the train just talking.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
Emma, was there anything that you wish you had known aside from more chocolate?
It's a good question. I think that maybe making sure that you download all of the books in a series. Cuz we started reading our books, and then the next day in the boat telling everyone about the book. And like
play by play,
replaying
word
the
for
book.
word.
Yeah. I have read the book Howl's Moving Castle so many times that I gave everyone a very nice like 8-hour audiobook.
It was impressive. It was
That was
very
a really
impressive.
hard day. It was one of the only things that got us through. It was like a 35 mile day, and it was
Mhm.
so long. It
It
took
was
so
so
long.
long, and we were all so like, we were on a river, but the river was through like towns,
And it
so
was
there
not
wasn't a lot of
moving.
wildlife, and it also wasn't moving, and we were under the impression that the river would be moving.
But
So we
we
were
had a drought the
paddling.
entire summer. So
Yeah.
all of the
Mhm.
water was low, so nothing
Yep.
really was pushing us along on any of our rivers.
Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So we were just going like maybe a mile an hour faster.
And the
Maybe.
wildfires, that had a pretty big
Oh,
impact on your trip, right?
yeah.
A
Mhm.
couple times. The first time being when we passed into Canada, the Ontario, where we were supposed to paddle in Ontario, was on fire for the first month of our trip, and we were like, "What are we gonna do?" Like we might just have to get someone to pick us up and drive us around it because if it's on fire, it's not quite safe. Thankfully, the day before we moved into Ontario, they put the fire out and we were able to paddle through. Then our next problem was the Whiteshell Provincial Park that we were supposed to paddle through in Manitoba. The first section, also on fire and also closed. So I got on the phone and got into actually a group email with every single park specialist, Parks Canada specialist, all of the head people there, and they were trying to figure a way to get us through. And they're like, "Well, you can't because it wasn't like on fire at that point. It was mostly like the very southern or northern edge or something, and it was hot spots." And so they were like, "We really want to let you in, but like we can't. Like if we let you in, we have to let everyone in." Um, and what we ended up doing is we got a special backcountry day permit that we could paddle through the park only if we finished it in one day and only if we didn't stop. Like can't stop to go to the bathroom, can't stop to get
Wow.
lunch, can't touch the land, and you have to land somewhere with a dock. And those were our things. And I was like, okay, we'll take it. Like, we will figure it out. So I called all of the outfitters in the first town you could get to. And someone was like, sure, you can sleep in our lawn. I was like, okay, great. I have a dock. Now we just have to figure out how to pee out of the side of the canoe because we can't land. So we had to figure that out. And we did like 40 miles in a day to get to this dock
No wonder
in
why you're
the yard.
sisters.
Yeah. Um, and there were just some funny things like that where we had to use problem solving. There were some scary times where we saw like smoke plumes or where smoke would blow in and we couldn't see half of our campsite because our visibility was so low. So, there was some good problem solving there, but there's also some days where we were scared and we didn't know what was going to happen. But there were some days where, we didn't know if we would be able to finish, if we'd have to call a motorboat to tow us out, if we'd have to call a float plane, if the fires were getting too close. There were some scary times where we were sending satellite messages and figuring out where the fires were, where we could go safely, where evacuation points would be. Emma, do you have anything else?
Yeah, we had we were at the Barrens town. We had a small scare where we were like, can we go further? Because the fire specialist we called told us that it would be foolish to go further. And we were like, oh, okay. And they were like, yeah, the road's closed, like you can't get anywhere. So we called someone at Norway House and they were like, the road's closed? What? I drove down it like today. And we're like,
Okay.
what's happening? And there was like everyone was we were trying to communicate with everyone and like calling the specialists on the fire, calling like all of the
So
people
were
in
they
Norway
communicating with
House we
each
could
other?
find.
No.
No.
So
That bingo.
the specialist we found out actually wasn't on scene. He was like a couple hundred miles away.
Okay.
And, as someone who works for a fire department, I get that you do not want random people like possibly putting themselves in danger and that could come back on you. And as for rescuing, like we're the bottom of the barrel. They're getting like all the citizens out, then they're getting like all the people who live there, then all the Canadians out, and then like this random group of American girls, like they're we're last on their list to rescue if
Yeah.
a fire breaks out. Um, so, on the fire side, I get that it's a really hard thing to do and you should warn people not to go near wildfires. Um, However, the wildfires were not encroaching on our route quite yet. And so we were able to communicate with the people who were actually living there and living um, in the community and with the fires around them. And the information that we got was that it was safe to proceed and that if need be, we could leave from Norway House and evacuate instead of finishing. But thankfully, our
Mhm.
route stayed clear and we were able to continue.
Yeah.
Are there other adventures that are taking shape in your heads?
You know, um, that's That's a really good question, and that's something that I'm still thinking about with my future. Like what type of trip is gonna fulfill me? Um, 3-month trips are kind of once in a lifetime. It's not something that you can just do. They're expensive. The logistics are like something out of a nightmare. Um, but the lessons that I learned and the connections that I made and the people that I met along the way make it all worth it in the end. So, given the opportunity, I think 100% I would go for another long trip. Um, but it'd have to be with the right people and the right situation.
I 110% would do this again. um, this was an amazing experience, and I have so many places I want to go and so many places I want to see. So this is something that I'll be working towards in my life. And like Abby said, it is expensive. It is hard to. We were very fortunate with this trip and the like gear donations and funding we got were absolutely amazing and made it possible to do this. But this is something I will be working towards to try and do again. Olivia and I have been discussing a route, except we did come across the small roadblock of a mountain range. So we're gonna figure out if we're gonna do that canoe route, which when Olivia mapped it out had a 250-mile portage. Um,
Wow. That might be a
which is
little long.
which is how she framed it towards me, and I was like, I think that's a hiking trip actually. um, so there's ideas bouncing around. There's things taking place, but I think mostly we just wanted to finish this trip, see how we felt after doing this long of a trip. I especially wanted to see how I felt like after a couple weeks after doing the trip and going, okay, was it trail brain going, oh my gosh, I've got to do this again, or do I actually really want to do this again?
How has reentry been? Like coming back, you think you expect the challenges that you're signing up for and going back, but sometimes coming back is can be a bit of an adjustment. It's not just hamburgers and ice cream, right? Or maybe it is. I don't know.
So,
I like hamburgers and ice cream.
me and
That's
Emma
my life.
probably have a very different answer to this because I'm going back to school and, Emma's doing something completely different, but it's really difficult to be honest. I've been adjusted to such a slow pace of life
Mhm.
and my priorities were just paddle, sleep, and eat, and that's all I had to think about. Um, but I'm coming back and I started one of my classes last night and, I have 10 lessons to do before class tomorrow. Um, and I'm coming back to work 48 hours this weekend. So it's kind of throwing me for like it's like a whirlwind. Like I'm not quite sure what to do with myself and how to how to get my brain back into such a fast pace of life and
Yeah.
how to focus on so many things at once. I'm in school, but I'm also working on an ambulance and I'm also taking my MCAT and applying to medical school this May. So and I expected to come back to all of that. I didn't quite expect it to be this hard.
Yeah. I can see that. Like like you said, it when you were describing like your like need for productivity, that's just how our culture is. And now you're coming back into it. I can imagine. I think a lot of people have struggled when like coming back into, our society and that like constant and you're at school and doing all the things.
Yeah, it's been hard to kind of come back and be so fast, like keeping so many things in my brain all at once, which I used to be able to do, is not an option anymore. I'm having to like write everything out and I'm okay, like what's my to-do list? What can I possibly get done? But also like having the bandwidth to do it is different than knowing I need to do it. It's just a completely different way of thinking than what I've been doing for the past 3 months.
How
Yeah.
about you, Emma?
So I am not coming back to school as I graduated. I actually walked and then exactly a week later started on this trip. So most of
Congratulations,
my
by the way.
thank you. Most of my really fast-paced transition was that transition, and now I'm back here. I moved back home for the next couple of months. And I'm looking for jobs. I'm looking for where I want to live. I'm probably going to be doing seasonal work for the most part, but like meeting up with all my neighbors who want to see me, meeting up with all like my family friends and like trying to figure out also I had an appointment for my shoulder that
How are you doing?
um all right. Uh Abby was correct. It was bicep tendonitis or
Okay, ouch.
so I tore something in my part of my bicep shoulder and it caused problems because I was using it. Believe it or not, if you injure yourself and then promptly use it repeatedly every single day for
That's
many hours a
worse.
day. Yeah. Well, it sure doesn't heal. So I've got like PT and stuff to do for that.
Gotcha.
So it's been hard. I'm very sensitive to noise. So going from being like, ah yes, the noise is birds to there's cars and
Yeah.
people everywhere and going to a doctor's appointment and trying to figure out like there's people in the waiting room and there's also people here and I'm trying to
Just so
like
many people.
well
Yeah.
trying to focus while there's also a lot more noise that's happening around me is hard for me. So going from having to be semi-aware of what's around me, because if there's a big crashing noise, it's probably something that I don't want close to me. To now, if there's a big crashing noise, someone walked into the trash can. So there's a different level
Yeah.
of
Your
alert.
nervous system is literally
Yeah.
readjusting. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's definitely odd for me and having a lot of people going, "Okay, what's next?" And I'm like, I got back Saturday. I got back to my home Saturday because I had to drive across the country. Or halfway across the country, so I was like I got back at like 8
Yeah.
p.m.
Just
on Saturday and like trying to like go, "Oh yes, this is what's happening. I'm filling out job applications and filling out like and trying to schedule times to meet up with my like cousins and my family who's all like my cousin just started college and I didn't get to help him move in because I was still finishing this trip and it's kind of like that sort of stuff that I'm like, "Oh, I'm missing things, but also trying to take priority for myself and like readjust.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give? You set out with like 3 goals, it seems to me, to inspire girls and women in paddle sports and develop outdoor confidence, to raise awareness for the mining ban in the Boundary Waters, and to still be friends at the end. Um, and so it's clear you accomplished number 3. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about what you set out to do, and then now where you are with your goals.
Yeah, so obviously we set out to mostly spread awareness and to inspire people um, to make change in themselves and make change in their community, and even on a bigger level. And I think we really did accomplish this through different like podcasts and interviews like this, but also on the water. We were able to talk with people at communities or other paddlers that we met and educate them about the mining. And especially in Canada, it was not people didn't know about it as much because it's happening on the US side, but it does affect the Canadians because it pollutes the water all the way up to the Arctic. So it was really interesting to be able to share that with people and see their reactions and kind of ignite this fire inside of them to fight for their paddling spaces and their waterways. And the other side of that, we did get people telling us, women telling us that they were re-inspired to go out into the wilderness and to go get their canoes out of storage and paddle.
I love that.
Jan, the lovely lady at Voyagers, told us that, people in her day, women in her day, didn't do things like this. And it was so nice to see young women getting out there, and that she wanted to go out and paddle now. So kind of getting that feedback was really heartwarming for us.
And the amount of people who would go, who especially the hydro workers, we had this conversation. It was almost like a broken record. It was so funny because we would have a conversation with them and they would go, "Oh my gosh, can I like take a photo with you guys or of you guys and like show my kids? Like, I want to show my daughter, I want to show my niece, like,
My wife,
this is what
even.
you could be doing." Yeah, my
Yeah.
wife, like, all of these things that they were like, "Oh my gosh, like, you're doing this and I'd love to share with my community, like, what's happening and the type of thing you're doing."
Is there advice that you would give like young women and girls to
Yeah,
follow in your footsteps or do something different even?
um, it's a lot harder to mentally prepare to start than it is to start. So getting like those first steps out is going to be scary. And that doesn't, for me at least, that doesn't change. I was scared to start this trip.
Yeah.
I'm nervous every time I start. But starting with something like within your abilities, like going for a day hike or going for a day paddle or
Camping in your backyard.
camping in your backyard, going for like a car camping trip, like starting more reasonable, I guess.
No 8-mile
'Cause
portages to start
I might
in the
not
muck.
suggest that. It might scare you off a little bit. Um, if you start off with like, "Oh, I'm gonna do a lap of this lake," or "Oh, I'm gonna get in a boat and learn how to not capsize it."
Yeah, start out
Um,
There.
small and
Yeah.
just
yeah.
getting out there and engaging with the environment is
Mhm.
really what we're pushing
Yeah.
people to do.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
are you documenting this trip? Gonna write a book, edit a video?
Ooh.
Like I know you've done a great job on social media and people have commented like how they enjoy following you. Anything else in the works?
So there might be some things in the works. I myself do not enjoy writing. So I will probably not be in the writing committee out of the 4 of us, but I know a couple of the girls
Fair
are
enough.
really really good writers, really good storytellers, and um, in the future do want to write a book about our experience. So it's definitely a
Mhm.
possibility. We are making a short film. We did make
Yay.
some videos throughout and like kind of like you could call it a vlog. Um, so that's Helena and her roommate are working on that right now.
I was a studio art major, so I'm going to be doing some artwork based on it, but that's more my personal thing. But we do have that um kind of a vlog, kind of a little bit, not quite a video essay, but like a small documentary.
Yeah, that's cool.
um and I think we're going to have the chaotic version and then like the more clean cut version.
You know, the bloopers, right? You need to keep that
Yeah.
version. Yeah.
We have so many
Document the journey.
bloopers.
I'm sure
Yeah,
this, the trip and what you saw and how you felt even will inspire your art for your whole life, probably.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, Emma's telling me some other ideas, and it sounds like it's really cool. I'm excited to see them come to life.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so sorry, guys. I had some Wi-Fi difficulties. I'm back now.
All right, Lisa, you want to hit them up?
So, ladies, now that you've had, I mean, considerable time together with just four women, kind of isolated from the rest of society, what does the matriarchy mean to you now?
Yeah, I think the matriarchy really means being kind of woman-centered and supporting and uplifting each other. I think we really embodied that on our trip, but I think there's a whole new like social interaction, social hierarchy and way that you interact with each other when it's just women. Um, and it's a special place to be. We all kind of got our start in Girl Scouts, so it was great to go back to our roots, and just kind of be women outdoors, be able to just be free in that way.
So, are you saying like free from a social hierarchy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there wasn't really a hierarchy between the four of us. We all had our strengths and we all had our weaknesses, and we all balanced each other out very well. So it was just a whole new way of living. It was freeing, it was calm, it was respectful.
For me, it was kind of seeing how, or having a group of people who would like go, oh, you're struggling with this one thing. Like, let me give you a hand. Let me, like, can I help you do this? If you're overwhelmed with like the amount of tasks you have, Abby would occasionally like catch me like buffering where I'm like, I have so many things to do. Oh no. And we go, hey, like, do you want to start on one of those? And like having the ability to have other people help you out with things that you're working on helping yourself with. Um, so having other women who understand what you're going through and who are on the same journey themselves and just going, oh, like me looking over and going, oh, I could help this. Or like, I know how to do this one thing really well. Let me do that one thing real quick and like make someone else's life a little bit easier. Instead of having all of the weight on your shoulders, you've got other people there to like help lift some of those weights off, and like give you a little bit of a boost.
It's inspiring to hear how you uplift each other.
Thank you.
Gosh, well, I'm sorry that Helena, she was having some technical issues, but we really
Yeah.
appreciated her being here as well. And just the trip of a lifetime. You girls, you did it. You pulled it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Sometimes it still feels like I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much for sharing your adventures with us before you left. And now I think people are really going to be excited to hear about all your stories. And so keep up with the artwork and the vlogs and the documentaries. You really have a story to tell.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
This was wonderful. Thank you so
Do
much. I
we
really appreciate your
sign off?
time. And congratulations, too. Congratulations on
Yeah, thank
completing this
you.
amazing journey. Gosh, Lisa, these girls, so inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be so young and accomplished, and brave. I mean, I could just go on and on with adjectives for these young women. What they took on was just amazing, and they did it with grace, and they handled so many challenges with grace. Yeah.
And being so intentional.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't want to dwell on like all the things that went wrong. And so I was
Mm,
trying to like really ask about the things that went right.
yeah.
And it's funny because on the things that like they would do again, it was like, bring more chocolate.
Which we can all understand that.
That was like the one thing they wish they knew. More chocolate.
Chocolate is just for the win. So,
Maybe like bring some more audiobooks, like
yeah. Yeah.
but they had their food. I mean, this food preparation was basically like cooking food for one person every meal for an entire year and
Mhm.
and then freeze drying it and shipping it. And it
Yeah.
all like they didn't talk hardly about that. They did that and then they made it there and then they got their food and then they ate it. Like we don't notice when things go right, but that went right.
That went right. That absolutely. That's a good way to look at it, Kath, because, I think that was a huge, endeavor of itself. And that was just sort of it was there for them and they did it and they started to look at it as like, of course, the food's there. We don't have to worry about it, except for ice cream.
Yeah. Except for ice cream and maybe a little too much oats.
And too much oats. They
Too
learned
many oats.
something.
Those are pretty good takeaways. And I thought they set out with some goals,
Yeah.
right? They set out to inspire young women, check.
Mhm.
Come back as friends, check.
Mhm.
And bring awareness to mining in the boundary waters. And it was really interesting to me the way they were talking about it because I'm like, oh, well, yeah, they did a lot on social media, but I'm like,
Mm.
well, how are they really going to spread awareness? And I was like,
Right.
oh, like they're talking to people that this affects
Yeah.
who are Canadian,
Yeah,
right? They live,
along the way, right? They were meeting people and discussing it with them and educating them.
yeah, yeah. And like they said, the mining has happened on the US side, but
Mm,
polluted water runs where it's going to run.
yeah.
And so the people downstream it
Mm,
affects their lives,
yeah.
their livelihood.
Yeah.
I do think they brought an awareness and with such compassion and grace too.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that awareness will continue to grow, as they've been interviewed by, several outlets already, including us. And,
Yay.
that awareness will continue to grow as people listen to their story. And, maybe they will continue to tell the story in many different ways. And so I think that's really important. And what an accomplishment. I mean, they're so
Yep.
young. I mean, to be able to bring forward such an important issue in this way that the whole thing, like there's just so many layers of just amazing work here. So,
I love that not only did they take advantage of this opportunity, but they really created this opportunity.
they did.
So, yeah.
They did. Absolutely. Which that is also amazing. I mean, I kind of create things pretty well now. I mean, in my 50s, but at that age, I was just like,
Yeah.
"Hey, what should I do? Somebody tell me what to do." I'm lost. So I'm just in awe that they're so focused and driven. It's
And
amazing.
that gives me a lot of hope for our
Me too.
future.
Me too.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
this next generation of women. And And they created their own little matriarchy, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
They exactly did.
It was a real treat to talk to them. What a joy. What a joy to spend this time with them and hear about their adventures and inspire people to just do it. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast going, gosh, I should really go for a walk. Yeah, I think you can go for your walk. Go for that little hike. If these girls can portage for 8 miles in the muck. Well, and a lot of people have really wanted to follow along with them. And so I hope people really enjoyed hearing their adventures, and they really have a story to tell.
Yes, they do.
We'd like to thank the Hudson Bay Girls for being with us and congratulate them on completing just a wonderful journey and sharing it with the rest of us.
So kind that they were willing to jump on our show with us and talk about it.
Yeah. And from our
So
first guest now, we're kind of bookending it. Like,
yeah,
we made it to episode 10 and they're still our guests. So
that's really good because
yeah.
10 is such a special number.
We'd like to thank our audience and for listening to us, for sticking with us for 10 episodes. And here's to the next 10. And just remember to like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends. We sound like a broken
Yes.
record, but any
I
little bit of
know.
engagement really helps.
It matters. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much and welcome to the matriarchy.
Welcome to our community.